Hey singers, welcome back. I've been hearing from many of you that one of the main challenges that you're facing with your practicing is that you're having to practice quietly, either because of neighbors or family members' schedules, maybe you have thin walls, whatever the case may be. I know that it can be challenging to practice without making a lot of noise. Now, most of us, we tend to either fall to one extreme or the other. When we're trying not to make much noise, we can either just not support at all, so we feel like we're not really singing, we're just sort of peeping along. And that obviously is causing problems because you're never fully harnessing the breath with the voice. On the other hand, and this is how I usually tend to make a mistake, sometimes we can feel like we really want to fully support, so we get a full warm up, but then we don't want to make a lot of sound, so we create a huge amount of energy and then we strangle the sound in the throat to make it quiet. So it's almost like we're singing really loudly but quietly. And this creates all kinds of tension. So whatever the problem may be, I'm here to suggest a solution. I'm just going to walk you through the type of warm-up that I do if, for example, I'm trying to practice when my kids are napping or in another situation like that. So I'm just going to begin. The first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is, if you don't have one, grab a glass of water and a straw. And the straw that I have here is slightly narrow. It's about the diameter of sort of like a normal McDonald's straw, but this is a glass one, so it's reusable. And then I just have a normal glass of water. And the first thing that I'm going to do is close my piano, because as I blow through the straw, I might be getting little splashes of bubbles, and I do not want to get my keyboard wet. So that's step number one. And then we're just going to start with some breathing. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there is one thing that you can do to really get your voice functioning well, it is to attach the voice to the breath directly. So today is no exception. We're just going to start with that. And what I want you to begin by doing, I'm seated, and if you're seated too, then go ahead, follow me. If you're standing, of course, you can do the same thing. I'm going to begin by checking out the placement of my ribs over my hips. So I've got my sits bones kind of pressing down into the hard surface of the chair. And then from there, I've got my ribs and my hips sort of stacked over one another so that I'm not in kind of a really sway backed position, hunched over, anything like that. So I've got my ribs and my hips sort of vertically floating over one another. And then from there, I'm just going to lift the back of the neck to make sure that everything is elongated. I've got the bottom of the sits bones pressing down into the seat, and then the crown of the head reaching upward. And from there, I'm going to sip my air in and down as though I'm sipping into a big sponge. And when I go to exhale, I'm going to squeeze that sponge that's in the bottom of the belly. Sip it in again, feeling the downward motion of the air as you breathe in. Squeeze the sponge, send the air up and out. Now let's grab that glass of water with that straw, and all we're going to do, we're not going to reach our head forward. We're actually going to bring the straw to our lips so the other end is in the water. Sip your air in and down. Now put the straw in your mouth, and we're going to blow, squeezing that sponge, sending the air up and out of the body, and then through the straw in to make some bubbles. Okay, we don't need to go on all day like that, but what you'll find is that with the pressure of the water, your breath will actually last quite a bit longer. And I'm gonna ask you to do that again and just be monitoring. Are you creating any other kind of back pressure? So you've got the pressure naturally created by blowing into the water, but are you also feeling stoppages or kind of limiting in the throat even before the air leaves your mouth? So let's try that one more time. Sip your air in and down. Now put the straw on your lips and blow. And of course, keep going if your breath is lasting even longer. Now on this next one, we're going to breathe exactly the same way, send the air in both directions the same way. So sip it in and down, put the straw in the mouth. This time, as we exhale, we're also going to be voicing. So we're going to be sort of blowing, singing through the straw as we blow. And I'm just going to do some gentle sirens with the voice. Ooh, something sort of like that. No specific pitches. Ready? Sip your air in and down. Nice full sponge. We're going to squeeze the sponge as we blow and sing through the straw. So what you'll be able to tell is that this is actually quite a good workout for the breathing, but you're not making a whole lot of noise here. It's also quite gentle on the vocal cords. So let's continue now. We're going to continue with the breath flow working the same way, but now we're going to move into some more straightforward humming. So this is going to be HNG. We're going to start here. These are my keys, use what you like. And I'm gonna start with first a puff of air coming through the nose, like that. And I'm gonna put my finger here so I can feel it. And as the air flows out, I'm gonna move from an H, that puff, into NG. So, now you might notice my mouth is already quite open. It's as though I'm singing an ah, but the back of my tongue is up against the palate so that I'm making an NG hum sound. So here we go. Ready? Breathe down. Now I want you to watch for a few things as you do this. Number one, even though the pitch of the exercise moves down the scale, I want you to be thinking of the airflow continuing to move upward. I also don't want you to lose track of that first puff through the nose. If you just start, the whole location and direction of the hum is quite different. The feeling is different, and I immediately begin to tighten in my throat. So let's keep that kind of air-driven feeling and that big puff of air through the nose right at the start. Let's do 3 more of these. Breathe down, up and out. Now, of course, you can go on with this exercise ad infinitum, but now we're going to move on to a more range covering exercise. And for this, we're going to grab our straw again. So no glass of water this time, but we are going to actually just do some scales, some long 9-note scales. We're going to do those through the straw. Now this is where we're going to be able to actually really sing with full support, and the straw is going to act sort of like a mute so that we can not make so much room in the not make so much noise in the room, excuse me. So starting here. Okay, so when I do this, what I'm really feeling is, ooh, my breath is really working. I'm having to stay very conscious of continuing to send the airflow upward, even on the downward slope of the exercise. And I really need to think about starting first with air and then smoothly letting the voice merge in, and not, you can hear that very violent coming together of my vocal cords. So start with just a little, it's more challenging. So let's go here. Let's do a few more of these. Breathe down and then blow and sing through the straw. Now again, the straw is going to do a fair amount of limiting of the amount of air that can come out of the mouth. That's why it's called a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. Please be aware as you're doing this, are you also creating some limitation or some kind of budgeting feeling in the throat, maybe in the chest? You do not need to do that. We really want to be singing freely, even though we're singing quietly, and with full support, even though we're singing quietly. Let's do 2 more of these. Last one. Now, of course, you might continue here to cover the rest of your range. You also might go right into repertoire work, continuing to use the straw. But as you've been able to hear, I have not been creating a lot of noise, and I've been singing at a healthy sort of mezzo forte plus dynamic in terms of the amount of support that I'm applying. So I hope this has been useful for you. Let me know how it turns out, and I will see you next week.